You know, it's absolutely insane. I was doing all this talking and my mic was muted the whole time. GG, man. But hey y'all, what's up? It's Chemistry. I play video games and I do social commentary. And today, I'm disappointing Monique one bombing at a time. Now today we're going to be talking about why the dating pool sucks or relationships and things of that nature. But aside from that, let's get it popping, shall we? Dating, relationships. Really just companionship is something that a lot of people want, even since the beginning of time. Companionship was a very prominent thing. Now, everywhere you look, everywhere you go, anywhere you breathe, relationships are there, whether it's video games, anime, movies, TV shows, literature, it's everywhere. Even in music, like even some of, not mine, but some of everybody's favorite artists, whenever they talk about love and heartbreak and things of that nature. Now, as of recently, anytime I go on social media, especially Twitter specifically, even TikTok, people are constantly talking about relationships, the dating pool sucking, and some people, especially the red pill people at times, and it's not even just them, it's other people too. They put out a bunch of fallacies and false ideologies that are not true about relationships. And internally, a part of me wanted to ignore it and kind of just be like, I'm gonna let bygones be bygones and not say nothing. But a part of me is like, this would be fun because I can debunk things. And then something I see in common very often is none of these people are in healthy relationships, let alone marriages. And the people that they claim that they want, they're not even chasing after. They're literally, because some of these same people will complain about the modern woman and I want a traditional, blah, blah, blah. Like they complain about modern women only to end up dating modern women. People's ideologies are different, but it doesn't change the person's gender at all, because you can have modern women that believe in traditional values. Y'all put labels on any and everybody in order to really deflect from what the major problem is, and that's y'all problem now. But I came on the camera looking this kind of way, talk about this kind of stuff, because some of what I'm gonna be talking about is vulnerable. So I want to come on camera in my most vulnerable, comfortable state. So that's why I look like this. But the main problem, the number one problem, selfishness. It's two things. The second problem causes the first problem. But the first problem through and through is selfishness. And selfishness can include cheating. Literally cheating. Lack of self-awareness, you being self-aware, not caring that you're hurting other people, entitlement, pride, arrogance. Basically pride and arrogance are like one and the same. Stubbornness, I think I said entitlement, unrealistic expectations, unrealistic standards, like hypocrisy, and so forth. It's so many things, so many sub genres of issues, but the main root of it is selfishness. Now, a lot of people sit here and be like, no, I'm not selfish because such and such changed on me, so I really bad. I hate to break it to you, but that's selfish. Actually, I love to break it to you, but that's selfish. You're wasting your own time by trying to hurt somebody else. Just because you were hurt. You could have left that whole situation. Unless you were in an extremely abusive relationship where it was very, very difficult to leave that person, and I understand that. I'm not saying that I've experienced it. I'm saying I can empathize and understand. Everybody else though, you could have left. You're trying to be petty. You're trying to get your get back, and it backfired. So then another thing is there is this whole study or whatnot that guidance teletherapy did about relationships. So they got a bunch of people together And they, asked some questions, did some studies, things of that nature. And the number one most intolerable selfish behavior in a romantic relationship was taking a partner for granted, with 72% of the people that they did the study on detested. They hated it. And that's more than half. That's more than half, bruh. Like, prime example, right? So I was watching, as of recently, I've been watching a little old show called Wife Swap. And it wasn't like I was just watching niblets of 1 or 2 episodes, because originally I wanted to watch the episode where it was a black businesswoman as a wife, and her husband was a stay-at-home dad, and she was swapping places with this other lady, and her husband was a biker. I wanted to watch that episode, but they didn't have it on Hulu. Get it together, Hulu. So instead, I ended up watching the OG version of Wife Swap before it got canceled and rebooted and recanceled again. So it's not like I was watching, like I said, it wasn't like I was watching niblets and giblets of like episodes here and there. Baby, I was 2 seasons deep. 2 seasons deep. And the thing I noticed so much of was the husband taking their partner for granted. And even then, it was like literally just relationships where a lot of selfishness and animosity was just there. And it was just crazy. So basically what happened in almost all these episodes was, actually, I didn't even explain the guise of Wife Swap, because some people don't know what that is. But anyways, Wife Swap is this show where 2 couples, wives from 2 couples, swap. And the whole purpose of the whole experiment is for people to take tidbits of that person's relationship and find out ways that they can apply it to their own family and marriage dynamics in order to better their marriage and the relationship with their kids and their family. Not everybody did that though. So there was a lot of situations where the wife basically had to do the cooking, the cleaning, and even housework. Like, not even just like, just washy dishy. I mean, chopping wood and putting it on the truck and stuff. And the wives was having so much animosity. They had so much animosity and resentment against their husband that they didn't even want to deal with them no more. Like, they was irritated, upset. So when the new wife came in and was like, all right, you making your wife do all this? I'm not finna do it. You're finna do it. Get to working, buddy. Because on the first week, they have to do everything that the original wife does. But in the second week, they have to, like, the whole rules change. So after that, they go home to their original husbands. The whole dynamic has changed because they all of a sudden have a newfound appreciation for what the wife does. Now they're helping their wife around the house. Things of that nature, right? Something that a lot of people have to understand, that a lot of people they're not wrapping their heads around enough for me, is that when you're in a relationship with someone, it's no longer about you. It's about you and that person. Love is not selfish. Love is selfless in nature. It's not a feeling. It is also a choice. Like, a lot of people will be like, oh, I feel like I'm in love with that person. But the very moment, a lot of y'all gonna get mad. I don't really care though. Like, you say you in love with that person, but meanwhile, that person asks, hey, can you go to the grocery store and pick up these few items while, I got to do this super duper heavy thing while I go and pick up some furniture or something. You have some people that will frown and just because their partner asks them to do something. If you have that kind of mentality, you don't need to be in a relationship. I'm just going to be completely and totally honest with you, because relationships, you're supposed to go into relationships, especially marriages, from a place of selflessness, from a place of not minding sacrificing or doing things to better you and that person in the relationship. Even in marriages, it's the same way. Like, even in the Bible, when y'all marry, y'all are one. Y'all are one team, one unit, one body. too many people go into relationships with selfish ideologies and get mad and feel some type of way and take advantage of somebody that goes into a situation with a selfless heart. That's what happens in relationships, and that's what causes number two sometimes, is where two people go into a relationship. One comes into a relationship with wounds and hurts and yada yada yada, and the other person goes in thinking, okay, I love this person, I care about this person, I don't mind going above and beyond and being selfless for this person because I love this person. And the other person is like, man. And these types of situations causes hurt people in the process. You already got one hurt person that refuses to let go of whatever hurt that they've experienced, but their hurt causes other people hurt. So now this person is hurt, and they might cause hurt to other people. That's what in some instances, that's what causes number two. But anyways, I stood up for this one because I had to include it, and it's needed. It's really needed because some of y'all have a great ego problem. Like, prime example, when you like somebody and they reject you and you feel some type of way about it. I get that that's the person you wanted to date or be with, and yada yada yada. They reject you and you feel hurt. That's understandable, you know. Some of y'all need to learn how to accept rejection. A lot of you don't know how to do it because it bruises your ego. What makes you so great that someone is not allowed to reject you? So many incidences like that is one of the main reasons why women, men, and other people end up being killed, because y'all egos are so bruised that y'all act like y'all are just greater than everything and everybody, and that rejecting you such is the worst thing that could ever happen to you. They're not entitled to like you back just because you like them. You are not entitled to that person just because you like them, bro. Your ego, pride is such a terrible thing. And a lot of people don't understand it. And it's also operating from a place of selfishness, because you are so full of yourself that if someone rejects you, that they're making the biggest mistake of their life, all because you like them. What makes you greater than anybody else? There might be somebody else that they like. You're not greater, you're not better than that person. That person is not better than you. It just so happens that person likes them. That's just who they like. Okay? If y'all don't get that together, y'all gonna be in a world of trouble. And I hate to break it to you, but for anybody that's bringing up incidences of how, the dudes are killing women, and especially if you're a woman and you feel some type of way about a dude rejecting you, and you'll go above and beyond and harass and stalk this person for rejecting you, I hate to break it to you, you're no better than the person. You're no better than the guy that has an ego problem whenever a girl rejects him. I'm finna sit down. I just had to let y'all know I'm standing 10 toes down on everything I'm saying. Number 2 is unresolved pain, heartbreak, and trauma. Now, there is one tidbit concerning this section. I'm gonna start this off with one quote, because I was reading and I was looking up a bunch of stuff, and there's this little excerpt that I thought, is really interesting and it's true. So it came from a book called Healing Trauma, Attachment, Mind, Body, and Brain. And it was edited by Daniel J. Siegel and Marion F. Solomon. The quote that is mainly said is, when there is a history of trauma, even small levels affect the security of the attachment bonds and can magnify relationship-threatening events. A lot of people underestimate how much trauma, especially childhood trauma, even just your upbringing, affects the relationships that you get into. So, for example, there's this whole study that somebody did pertaining to the effects of child abuse and childhood trauma. in adult relationships. Now, according to them, because mind you, they did this study a while ago. So, according to them, people who experience childhood physical abuse often have difficulties in creating and maintaining healthy boundaries. Therefore, they're more likely to get involved with partners that mistreat them or have poor boundaries as well. And then also, with one or two people in a relationship that have impaired social and emotional boundaries, the quality of the relationship is gonna be bad, like pertaining to communication skills, attachments, boundaries. Is gonna be rough, and not the Kyle Massey movie either. And then also within the same study, literally the whole results of the study indicated that there may be more gender similarities and differences, similarities than differences in experiences of childhood abuse and relationship quality than other studies shown. So a lot of people sit here and be like, oh my gosh, men and women aren't equal and yaka 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 and damaged goods and yaka yaka yaka. According to this study, there's more similarities than differences pertaining to the people that are being abused and the relationship quality of their own relationships. So all that damaged goods stuff, cap. Complete and total cap. Because through and through, even if somebody has never experienced childhood trauma or anything of that nature, a lot of y'all hold on to heartbreak the same way and will make it everybody's problem. That's how these podcasts have came along. One person gets their heart broken a few times or maybe one time 15 years ago, and now they're making everybody pay for it. So like stuff like that. And now they're scamming people and making them pay $300 to hear from somebody that has never been in a healthy relationship, a healthy marriage, a healthy lifestyle. Nothing. And the truth of the matter is that everybody is capable of having a healthy relationship, but for people that have been through a plethora of heartbreak and trauma and pain, it takes them a little longer to get there because of all the effects of what the abuse and all this stuff have done. But they either take two roads in the long run. They either take the road of, okay, all of this stuff that I've experienced, it's hurting me. Don't get me wrong, it might take me a while to heal, but I would rather heal and become better for the sake of not just myself, but in order to be a better human being all around, and I be a healthier and much more healthy person all around. So the next person I date or whoever I date doesn't have to deal, I wouldn't even say with the repercussions. They don't have to be verbally or just abused and hurt as a whole. Because in a lot of ways, when you don't heal from what's hurting you will involuntarily hurt that person as well, because you're taking all that out on them. Like, a lot of people will sit here and make excuses and be like, that's not true. Yes, it is. Because a good portion of y'all carry a lot of trauma and a lot of pain and a lot of animosity and baggage into new relationships, and make the new person pay for things that they didn't even do. And in the long run, you're hurting somebody that potentially loves you. You're hurting them, man. There's this one quote that can actively sum it up as beautifully as possible. So it's this book called Heart Wounds. It's called Heart Wounds: The Impact of Unresolved Trauma and Grief on Relationships by Tian Dayton. And the quote is that the sad truth is that no person or situation can fully heal a survivor of cumulative trauma or piled up hurts until such time as that person also engages from healing from within. And then it continues. And this is the part that really just like stings, like it really hits you in the trachea. So it says the outside relationship can provide the person with a vehicle through which to heal, to relearn how to relate. But until the survivor is able to learn, meaningful change will probably not take place. Now I really want you to dwell on that, because it's true. We live in a world full of people that carry baggage of cumulative trauma and piled up hurts. And the way that they handle these hurts, they don't handle them appropriately at all. So then, because of all these experiences that they have experienced, they either grow and relearn and unpack what they need to unpack and heal, or they end up turning into a brand new person in a bad way. And the main problem of number 2 creates number 1. They operate from a place of hurt and selfishness, and they deflect that onto their partner, and their partner hurts, and then the whole cycle continues. And a lot of people will try to turn this into a gender war thing. No, everybody has experienced hurt in some kind of way. Everybody's trauma is different as well. One of the main issues now is selfishness. A lot of people, especially a good portion of men, are operating from a place of selfishness. A lot of people are operating from a place of hurt and selfishness. So instead of acknowledging everything they need to acknowledge in order to be a better person, they don't want to do that. They want to blame the whole world, a whole gender of people for their problems. They want to blame a whole gender for things that they would rather not take accountability for in some instances. And on top of that, you have a lot of people, a lot of hurt people that will take advantage of innocent people and start that whole cycle of people being hurt. So now that I'm hurt, I'm going to operate from a place of selfishness and make it everybody's problem. And I'm not going to care about how other people feel. That's the problem. That's why you have people like the people on the podcasts. Like me personally, like, might be just me, but I'm not finna listen to a 30-year-old man whine and cry about how women are the problem and traditional and modern women are the issue, when I can listen to Big Bertha and her husband that have been together for 52 years that have never had a cheating problem or anything, and they've had communication issues, but over time they unpacked whatever issues they had, they relearned. They go to church, they love God, they loved each other, and they held it down. I'm finna listen to Big Bertha, her husband. I'm not finna listen to no Fresh and Fits for no relationship advice or nothing. That's just me personally. And then obviously I was gonna do a whole excerpt about the whole gender war thing. Now, something I do find incredibly ironic is whenever the red pill people or other people will sit here and will blame everything on feminism, when the feminism that they're talking about is radical and modern feminism, not the actual purpose of why feminism was a thing, because they're ignoring the fact that back in the day we didn't even really have the ability to have our own money, because everything we ever did, we had to go through the husband to do anything. We could want a candy bar or something, we had to go to him and be like, hey, can I please have a Hershey bar? We had to do that. We weren't able to go to school. We weren't able to do any of these things. Men were able to do that, but we weren't able to do that. So feminism came along back in the day so we can have those abilities to do that. Y'all got beef with radical feminism, and it's ironic because radical feminism and the red pill stuff, one and the same. No difference, babes. It's no difference at all. Like, well, just like in my opinion, in a lot of ways, liberalism and conservative people, even though they have different perspectives and stuff on things, one and the same in actions. They'll complain about, conservative people will complain about liberal people having riots and protests and whatever. But when something goes wrong on their end, doing the same thing. And that's what a lot of people, they're not trying to understand that. They don't want to understand that because they're stuck in their own ways. And it all boils down to selfishness. I'm getting heated about this because it's a very true thing and it's frustrating. It really is frustrating because in my personal opinion, I feel like men and women companionship, like even studies have shown that like companionship and nurturement is very important. Like everybody wants a companion in some kind of way. So I feel like in that kind of way, I feel like men and women have the ability to need each other and to help each other. But the problem is that selfishness came along the way. A lot of hurt and broken people came along the way and really messed up a lot of things for a lot of people. So now you got a bunch of hurt and wounded people walking out here and putting their hurts, projecting their hurts and their pains onto innocent people and creating that whole cycle of creating more and more hurt people. That's what's going on. Like, I hate to be that person, but if I'm in the dating pool, and mind you, I'm not just saying this out of the side of my neck. This is coming from somebody. All of this of what I'm saying is coming from somebody that used to be toxic. And I didn't necessarily know what like healthy relationships were until, my mom's marriage. Cause mind you, she been married for 18 years. 18 years. I done seen somewhat of the highs and somewhat of the lows, but my dad respected my mama, loved my mom, helped my mom around the house, all types of stuff. And on top of that, I am now in a healthy, thriving relationship. It took me unpacking and relearning what healthy relationships and healthy boundaries and healthy things were because of all the trauma and all of the pain that I have experienced. It took me becoming vulnerable enough to say, you know what? I haven't always been right. I haven't always operated from a place of selflessness. I operated from a place of selfishness for the sake of trying to survive in a world full of broken people. That's what I mean. A lot of y'all don't want to do that because it requires you to be open enough to admit that you're not perfect. And way too many people in the dating world as well, they put on this facade like they're perfect. It's a difference between having confidence and having arrogance. And once again, arrogance is coming from a place of selfishness. And a lot of people in the dating pool as well, and I notice it, a lot of people confuse people having confidence with having selfishness just because they have selfishness. Like, for example, you see specific men and women, whenever someone feels confident, they'll sit here and be like, oh, she thinks she's better than everybody. No, you think you're better than everybody. Because imagine feeling some type of way because someone is confident. You can tell the difference between confidence and arrogance, but you won't be able to tell that difference if you've always operated from a place of brokenness. You wouldn't know it because you're not even confident. You're operating from a place of insecurity. You're projecting your own insecurities onto someone else just because they feel confident and you do not. So now you feel like the whole world has to accommodate to your insecurity. That's the problem. And then another thing, and it's ironic because that same book, the Heart Wounds book, shortly after that little excerpt I read a while back, so what I'm talking about right now, they have a whole quote that I can quote. I'm getting turned. I'm getting turned talking about this. I'm not even gonna hold you. So it literally says, and I quote, they need to be vulnerable, meaning the people that are going through piled up hurts and trauma, things of that nature. They need to be vulnerable to feel their feelings rather than shut them down. But until they are able to stop projecting their pain by blaming others for it, they will not be able to reflect upon themselves enough to heal and take responsibility and ownership of what goes on inside of them. And it continues, and it says, and to get honest first with themselves and then with others. Ooh! And the craziest thing as well, like from a Christian perspective as well, is in Matthew, I think chapter 6. I'm gonna put it on the screen because I don't want to sit here and quote nothing and say nothing wrong. A lot of people use this quote to be like, don't judge other people. Look at yourself first. They'll use that on everybody else but themselves. Because the reality of the matter is that all of us have came short of the glory of God. That's facts. But honestly, it's not even a but, it's true. The reality of the matter, though, is that we live in a world that is full of selfish people to where they don't want anybody to call them out on anything they do. They would much rather call other people out on their stuff. You know you're broken, you know you're hurt, you know you need to heal from specific things. But until you're honest with yourself about what your problems are, you're gonna project and you're gonna ping, 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 ping all that pain and all that stuff on everybody else. So of course the dating pool sucks, because there's a lot of dishonest and selfish people that's pinging their hurts and pains and projecting that stuff onto other people, and it's causing other people problems. That's the reason why, like I said, number 2 causes number 1, and number 1 causes number 2. It's a domino and reverse domino effect, if we're being completely honest here. So that's the reason why the dating pool sucks. You want the real reason? That's the real reason. And there's studies, you can look some of this stuff up and it'll also echo the same sentiments. So one more thing I really want to say to add on to this, to piggyback off of it a little bit. A lot of people aren't gonna like this, and I'm gonna just I wouldn't even say disclaimer, but in general, we do have control of responsibility of the people that we choose. And I'm not talking about the people that lie about who they are, because there are a lot of people, both men and women, that lie about the kind of people they are, the characteristics in which they have. And then when you date the person, and sometimes when you marry the person, their whole demeanor changes and the real them comes out. It's so many people in divorces that have talked about those experiences being a thing, where they got with somebody, they thought they were this way, they get married, completely different person. I'm not talking about that, because it's understandable. I'm talking about this person is showing you the real them, and you still choose to date them, all because you think that you can change this person. Baby, nobody can change them but God. If they love you enough, they'll change on their own. But no, people have to stop going into relationships thinking that they have the ability to fix everybody. It's not your job. You cannot do that. You have to see people for face value. Only time, in my opinion, you should never try to do that is if you know what the problem is with that person and they're willing to change. But I don't know everybody's situation. I feel like with these relationship gurus and other people, I feel like as well, They gotta understand it. They gotta admit, I don't know everything about everybody's relationships. I only know what worked for me. I only know specific things. I can sit here and say that all day long. I only know based on my experiences and what I learned and what I paid attention to and what I noticed. So, hey, I'm just saying. But it's too many people, I feel like, in dating as well, it's too many people that try to be the doctor for their partners instead of just being their partner. It's too many people in relationships that want their parent, like not parent, they want their partner to basically be their parent instead of just being their partner. And a lot of people have to unlearn so many selfish and damaging ideologies in order to be into healthy and thriving relationships. Because a lot of people expect selflessness from their partner and from who they're talking to or dating, but they go into that relationship with selfish ideologies. And that's why, like I said, selfishness causes all of these things, taking people for granted, a lack of self-awareness, yada, yada, yada. And a lot of people will ask like, oh, like, what do you mean lack of self-awareness? They're not self-aware. You can lack self-awareness and because of the things that you do, it causes people harm. Like that's not only reckless, but that's selfish as well. But that's all I have to say, y'all. But if you like this video, go down, press the like button, share your thoughts below about why, in your opinion, why the dating pool sucks or relationships suck or whatever the case may be. But aside from that, I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, bye guys.